Greetings and welcome back to the Emily Knits podcast. My name is Emily. If you're new here, I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s from the UK. I've done this all wrong. What do I normally say? I was just thinking earlier how I've got the spiel off and I don't even think about it, but there you go, that serves me right, doesn't it? I am a knitter and crocheter based in the UK. No. I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s based in the UK, where I live with my partner and 2 dogs close to Sherwood Forest in North Nottinghamshire. It's something like that. Hi, welcome back. Today we have a traditional format podcast to talk about. We have a finished object to share with you. We have some big progress on a couple of whips. We have a new whip, which is also an acquisition to talk about. And something that is planned that I think I've lost the swatch for. No, it's there. Also have some exciting news to talk about. There is going to be a giveaway because I talked in the last podcast episode about how I was getting really close to 500 subscribers. And I said if we got to 500, we would run a giveaway, and we have smashed that. So thank you very much. If you've been one of the newer subscribers, we will have a giveaway, and I'll give some more details of that at the end, how it's going to work, what the prizes are that you can win. But there's not huge amounts of, so there's a few projects to talk about, most of which you've already seen, but there's a couple of plans and there is quite a lot of work on a couple of them. So we'll get into it and we'll get going. First things first to talk about then is going to be what I'm wearing. I have finished an edited version of the Mezzo Cardigan that I talked about last week. So this is this all over crocheted cardigan with these stockinette panels underneath the arms and down the side of the body. And these puff stitches, they call them in the pattern, popcorn stitches, all up the fronts, all up the arms. It's got some knitting style ribbing on the cuffs. And this is a pattern by the Make and Do crew. I think the name is Sarah Copham on Ravelry. I'll put it up here. It is a free, so you can either pay for a PDF version of the pattern, or there is a free pattern on their blog, and there is lots and lots of free patterns on there. I mentioned last time that the pattern didn't seem bad in terms of ads and things, and I'll be honest, going through it more, it got worse. So we'll go through that in a bit more detail in a minute. I crocheted this from some yarn in stash, which was Drops Stylecraft Grace, which is a acrylic wool and mohair blend. I'll have to put the percentages up on screen because it's quite a specific percentage. I can't quite remember what it is. And I had 4 skeins of the colourway Oyster in stash, which is what this is. This is like it looks very cream on camera. In real life, it does have quite a pinkish tone to it. Let me see if I can get it to, no, it's not really picking up. It's got almost like a light pink tone to it, but it does sort of read overall as more cream. And you can see from that sort of up close shot that it's got quite a lot of halo to it, but it does still have a really nice stitch definition. It's almost got a bit of a sheen to it, and I'm assuming that's from the acrylic. And I have really, really enjoyed working with this. So I've knit with this before, and I didn't enjoy knitting with it as much, but it seems to really lend itself to crochet because it's been an absolute joy to work with in a crochet project. It's just glided off the hook. One thing to note is that it is an absolute pig to rip back, and I'm assuming that's the mohair content. We all know it's a nightmare to rip back mohair if you're knitting too. And I'm assuming that's what does it on this, but it's an absolute nightmare. So I knit this on, like I said, this is a free pattern, that you can get this pattern for free or you can pay for this. The recommended hook size is a 6mm. And I knit this crocheted this using a 5.5, and I am above gauge. So I have made some alterations to it, despite being a 5mm, half a millimetre down. Despite being half a millimetre down on the hook size, I was still up on gauge. So I've made the size large, but it is bigger than it should be in the finished garment. And I did end up, I started this as a stash busting project, and I did end up having to buy some more yarn for it, which of course is not what I intended, but I have used up the vast majority of that. So let me just come up a bit closer and show you. And then we can talk about the alterations I've made. So I'm not going to be able to get most of this in, but you can see some of it. So yeah, you crochet in hexagons basically. So you start under the arm. It's more visible to see this in the last podcast episode. If you've not seen that and you're curious how this is made, go back and see that. But essentially you knit 2 massive hexagons, starting from the centre and going round, and then essentially you fold them together so that you create your sleeve shapes. You then do some extensions on the back and extensions on the front to give it some shape around the collar, which you're not going to be able to see very well. Yeah, you can see there it's longer at the front and obviously the back as well. You then join in the back, join down your sleeves, add some ribbon, and you should, this is where I've started to make alterations, so you should add some length before you start going onto the cuff. But as you can see, these sleeves fit really, really well on me. They're not bracelet length at all. They are bang on my cuff. They're exactly where they should be. And that's with adding, I think it's suggested in the pattern to add like 10 rows of double crochet. I added 1 before I started doing the decreases for the cuff, and that worked really well for me. Again, I think this is because I'm over gauge. I think if I'd been on gauge, I might have needed to add some length. So I didn't add anything there. The same again for the body. I'm going to have to pull this up a bit to show you. It did suggest adding, I think, 13 rows of length, although it does say in the pattern that it does recommend in the pattern at this point that you start trying it on and seeing where you want it to hit, and I was quite happy with the length that it was at when I added 2 rows of double crochet. You then do a row of single crochet, and you can either do a plain row of single crochet or with some decreases to pull it in, which is what I've done. And then it recommends that you add some more rib like this. And I started doing that and decided against it. So it should have rib all along the bottom, about 2.5 inches of rib, and then it should have some rib down here as well. And I decided for a couple of reasons not to do that. So first off, I like how it looks without it. That was the big part. I like the sort of, you're not going to be able to see unless I bring it up close, but you can sort of see that single crochet row at the bottom gives it a really neat, clean edge. It almost looks like a bind off in knitting. And I was really pleased with how that looks and how it sits. It sits just below my sort of hips. My hips are there, and it sits, I guess, sort of halfway down my bum. And I liked where it sit. It looked a bit strange with the, I did about 2 inches of ribboning and it looked a little bit strange. So I decided against that. And also I was really happy with how this looks down the front, these puffs next to the sort of closure. I think it makes it look quite classy. And I also only had 30 grams of yarn left, and I was pretty certain it wasn't going to be enough, and I didn't want to order more if I could avoid it. So I didn't do that at all. It's going to have to come off because it's quite warm. It's really weird weather in the UK today. It's been cold, then it's been warm, and vice versa. So it's probably going to come off. But yeah, what I did do was I made some stuff up around the neck, basically. It was a little bit wide around the neck as it was and a little bit unfinished looking, whereas I think down here it looks fine. But up around the neck it looked unfinished because I had like a front panel and a back panel that I joined. So essentially all I did was a row of double crochets and a row of single crochets doing that same decrease that I did on the bottom. Having worn it for a little bit, I think I might need to do a bit more because am I going to be able to make it do it? Yeah, it slips off my back really easily. When I'm just sitting and I'm not moving, it's fine. But when I start to move around and walk, it slips off my back really, really easily. So I need to do a little bit more up there, I think, to sort that out. But otherwise, it's done. And I've even woven all my ends in. Are you proud of me? That is not normally something I do. But they're all woven in. There isn't a single end on this piece. And I am super pleased with it. The other reason I decided not to do the ribbon is because of how I want to wear this. I don't want this to be, I wanted it to be an oversized, and it is oversized. Like this should have given me this size, the size large should have given me a fairly neutral fit, but you can see there, like that's the side of my body and that's the ease I've got. So that's my gauge being off. And I made that decision to go forward with that and create an oversized garment. So I was pleased with that. But I wanted it to be a cosy, oversized throw-on piece over casual dresses and things like that. Not really not professional, that's not what I mean. Not like a formal piece. So I wasn't bothered about it looking like it had like knitted ribbon on and things like that. I was quite happy with that sort of slightly more raw edge. I think it gives it a bit more of a casual feel, and I'm really, really happy with how this looks. Yeah, I've had it on, I finished it earlier today and I've had it on since, and it is super cozy and comfy, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. There's no itch in it. There is only a very small amount of wool, and the mohair is also quite small. I feel like it's like 5% mohair and maybe like 10% wool. So it is mostly acrylic. So the itch factor for me certainly is very low. Like I can have it here, I can have it on my collar, whatever. It's not, you know, it's not causing any issues. And even when it has got a bit warm, it hasn't caused any issues as well. I'm going to take it off though, because now I am warm. So bear with me a sec. It is large. Let me just show you the back because you see the pattern a bit better. So it is. It's a lovely, large, very much oversized cardigan. And it did eat a lot of yarn. So this used 5.7 balls of Sauerkraut Grace. Each ball is 100 grams, and I think each ball is about 295 meters. It used something like 1,800 and something meters worth of yarn. And like I said, I had to buy another couple of balls to make it. I had 4 in stash. I bought another 2. I used 70 grams of my final ball. I'm going to use a little bit more, obviously, for that collar, but probably not massive amounts more. And each ball is £4.99. So if you call it £5, I needed to buy all 6 balls, like I said, obviously, to make this sweater. So it was, what is it, just under £30. I'll pop the actual cost on screen, but if they're £4.99 a ball, it's going to be just shy of £30. And I think, do you know what, for £30, I think it's a really nice sweater, really nice cardigan. It was very fun to crochet, very satisfying. I would say, would I say it's beginner friendly? I don't know if it's beginner friendly. I'm not a very advanced crocheter and I was able to follow it, but particularly the free version, the abbreviations and things, they were good and they were there, but it's quite hard to find the bits that you want because of all the ads, and I was going to talk about that. So I mentioned on the last one, the free version does have ads, but it wasn't bothering me that much. Now that changed a bit. I think this was originally done as a crochet along on their blog, which meant that each part, it was split into 4 parts, each of which was released 1 a week kind of thing. And I've crocheted a pattern off there before, and it was just a pattern that they put on there. It wasn't split over 4 parts, and that was a lot better. But I wonder if this, because it's split into 4 parts, you've got a quarter of a pattern on this page, and it was crammed with adverts. And it was to the point actually where a couple of times, particularly towards the end, when it was maybe all that was on that page was talking about how to do your cuffs and things like that. The adverts were so much that my page kept jumping about all over the place. So I'm trying to read what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's going back and forth and up and down and all over the place. And also on multiple occasions, it completely crashed my phone. And I basically just got an error message saying this page has encountered the same error too many times and needs to close, and I'd just get a black screen. And the only thing I could do was then refresh, and it would put me right back up at the top of the page, and I'd have to go back through all the ads and stuff. So it did actually get frustrating enough that I considered buying the pattern. If I hadn't already been at the point where I'd done most of the body, and I think I'd actually done one of my sleeves as well by this point, I might have gone and bought the pattern, but by that point I knew I didn't have much left to do. I'm really sorry if you can hear lip smacking noises. Pepper's just here, staring at me, wondering what I'm doing, and smacking his lips. Also, I don't know if you can see, there's a lump here. This is the other dog. This is Chase, who is fast asleep in her bed and now annoyed at me because I've disturbed her. Can you stop making that noise? It's really horrible. She's now snoring. Great. Yeah, I think if I'd have been earlier on in my making of this, I would have possibly gone and bought the pattern. It's not a super cheap pattern, it's like £7.50, which is probably worth it for the amount of work that goes into it, but is on the more expensive side for a pattern. So yeah, again, when I was 3/4 of the way through the crocheting of it, I didn't want to go pay £7.50 to find out how to finish it. But yeah, it is worth bearing in mind. There were a lot of ads. It was quite challenging at places, so just keep that in mind if you were going to make this. But overall, I would really recommend it. Yeah, I don't know if I think it's good for beginners. I'd say maybe confident beginners or intermediate, because some of the stitches, the puff stitches, the instructions are fairly good, and once you know how to do them, you can Google a popcorn and you can see how to do them. But some of the stuff I'd never done before, like slip stitch yarn over cuffs and things like that, and it was a little bit harder to understand, particularly because it was quite hard to find the bit you wanted with all the jumping around in the ads. But overall, I would definitely recommend the pattern. It goes from a size small up to a size 5X, I think. It's got quite a decent size range. Like I said, I did the size large, which was supposed to give me like a little bit of negative ease, but it's not supposed to be worn shut anyway, so I wasn't massively bothered about that. But with my gauge being a bit off, I think I'm probably closer to the extra large size, and I'm really happy with the way that this fits and the way that it looks. So there we go. That is my my only finished object for this week. Let's pop that up there. We have a lot of progress on one of my whips that I'm going to show you, and I bet you're all sitting there, because what did I say last week? I said I'm going to get my tendril top done. I'm going to get it done or close to, and apparently when I put things out in the world like that, I just don't do them. So it's not that. I've not done any work on that this week, except for I've maybe knit about 1 inch on the body, so I'm not going to show that because there is literally nothing more for you to see. Because I've had a sample knit and a big project on the go, they've really taken forefront, so the tendril just hasn't got as much, but I will complete it. It also has been, because like I touched on, the weather in the UK has been absolutely atrocious, and I've not really been in the mood for summer knits because it's been crap. It was actually cold enough the other week in the middle of the night that I nearly went and got the winter weight duvet out of the cupboard because it was so cold in the bedroom. So it was 7 degrees Celsius overnight, which for the middle of July, it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that. Anyway, enough about that. The other thing that I wanted to show, or the next thing that I wanted to show that's had a lot of work on it, is my sample knit for botanical yarns, which is the Piennar top by Veera at Välimäki. So I think when I showed this last time, this is a drop shoulder construction. So you start at the back and you knit down your back panel, then you come and you knit your front panels and you join into front and you go from there. And I think when I showed you last time, I had the back panel and one of the fronts done. And when I say it's had a lot of work on it, we have almost a fully completed body. I was hoping to have the body done today, but it's just not worked out like that. I think I've got about 1/2 inch of ribbing to do on the body. I've got hair on it and it won't come off. Why can't I? You know, it's like a magic eye picture and you think you're in the right place for it and actually it's further away. Yeah, so I think I'd done this front. So I then went and did this front, joined flat for the front, for the flat front, and then I've joined in the round and I've knit 12.5 inches of body, 12 inches of body before going on to the rib at the bottom. And this is just beautiful. You can see that lace there really nicely. Like I said, I've got about 1/2 inch left of the ribbon to do before I do a tubular bind off, and then I really haven't got much left to do on this. So then I've got to pick up for the collar and knit a couple of inches of rib for the collar, and then I've got to do the sleeves. But the sleeves are basically like you pick up however many numbers of stitches for your size, you do 2 inches of stockinette and you do 2 inches of ribbing, and that's it. There's no shaping, there's no short rows, there's no decreases because it's a t-shirt, nothing. So this, I'm hoping over the weekend, I'm filming this on a Friday, and I'm hoping over the weekend when this is going to come up for you guys, this will be completed and it'll be ready to weave in my ends and block and send back to Botanical Yarn for them to use as a sample. The colours are absolutely gorgeous and the yarn is still absolutely gorgeous. I have reached out to Botanical Yarns and asked what the colourways and bases are. The yellowy green, which isn't, that's more true to life, but it isn't hugely coming up on camera, is Alchemilla Mollis is their colourway for that, and the pink I'm not sure. It looks sort of like their Vintage Romance colourway. I think it's called Vintage Romance, except Vintage Romance has speckles of brown and things like that in it, whereas this is just a solid mauvey pink, and it's lovely. It's not a colour I would normally gravitate towards, but actually I quite like it. I've been really enjoying knitting this pattern. So this is the Piennar top by Veera Välimäki. I am knitting size 5, which is actually the size that I would knit if I was going to knit it myself. And it is sort of, I said last time, it's sort of like, I understand it's sort of like a petite knit pattern from what other people have said, although I've never knit a petite knit pattern, so I can't comment. But it is definitely like a skein deer pattern if you've ever knit one of hers, and I think they're quite similar in that, sorry, I'm expecting a parcel anytime. In that all the information you need is there, but it's like, I think it's like 4 pages long for this pattern. The pattern is about 4 pages long, and the first page of that is the title page with a massive picture on and nothing much else on. All the information you need is there. There isn't a lot of waffle. It tells you knit the body until this length and then off you go. There isn't any real hand holding and things like that. However, everything is well explained and everything is clear. So I have actually really enjoyed that style of pattern. A lot of the designers that I knit from, particularly the ones that I've been test knitting for recently, have very full on, very detailed patterns, and it's been quite nice to have one that's a bit more basic. It's nice to have the variety, isn't it? But yeah, this is looking really, really good. I'm really pleased with it. It's got beautiful drape, the yarn, and I'm genuinely considering knitting this again. I say this every time I knit something, but this time I mean it. So I have been knitting this thinking that this would make a really good present for my mum, who I'm fairly certain doesn't even know I knit. I do a podcast, never mind watch it. But mum, if you are watching, stop, because it's going to give away some ideas of what you might get as a present. I've wanted to knit my mum something for a little while, but I want to make sure it's something that she will like and she will wear. And I've gone back and forth on patterns and things, but I think this is something that she would wear a lot, actually. The Alchemilla Mollis colour is something that would really suit her. I wouldn't probably do it in the pink. She's not a massive pink person either, and I can't imagine with her colouring it would suit her. She's got much more cool tone colouring than me. So I don't think that would suit her so well. But I very definitely think I will knit another one of these for her. The one thing I'm going to check once I've finished it is how much this lace opens with blocking with the weight of the entire jumper on it or t-shirt, because I know for certain if it has big holes in it, she'll feel uncomfortable wearing that. So yeah, would definitely knit it again. It's gone very quickly. It's been that sort of potato chip knitting that, oh, you just do a stockinette stripe, oh, but now I've just got to the lace, so I'll just do a bit of lace, and oh, but I finished the lace, so I'll just go on to stockinette, and before you know it, you've done the body. So yeah, very highly enjoying this. I'm hoping by next week, basically, to have this ready to send back to them. So that will be big progress. Big progress. I'm very pleased with that. Okay, so then we'll go on to talk about the other thing that's had a lot of time, which is this one. This is my knitted wedding dress. So if you've not been here before, I am getting married later in the year. I got engaged earlier in the year and I'm getting married later in the year, and we are having a fairly small, very small and fairly non-traditional ceremony. No white dress, no big bouquets of flowers, things like that. I will most likely be wearing trainers. And we're just having very close family, and that is literally it. Are you snoring now? Thanks for that. And pretty much as soon as we got engaged, I decided I wanted to knit my wedding dress, and I settled on this dress, which is all the yarn's tangled. Every time I get this out of the bag, it's tangled, and I have to detangle it before I can start working on it. This is the MELIDES dress by Inez Oliveira, who is vertknit. And last time I showed you this, I think we had a little sliver of the body, that's the wrong way up, of the body, and I'd had some real issues with gauge, and I'd had to cast on again and again and again and again. I am happy to report that I've sorted the gauge definitely now, and this is now flying. So we've got a big, it doesn't look that much, but there's probably about at least 10-15 inches there of body. And we've actually got, I'm going to try and show you this, this is going to be quite difficult, we've actually got some body shaping going. So let's see if I can do this without pulling things off needles and causing problems for myself, or catching bits on needles. That's also not good. Yeah, okay, so this is where we get into. We have a right bodice coming as well, a right front. But I think the needle's just going to be a bit too short for me to be able to pull that all the way around and show you. It does fit, I promise. It's because of the needles. The needles are a bit too short. Oh, that felt like stitches coming off. Nope. It felt like it. So this is where we are at. If I pull you down a bit, I'm going to be able to show you a bit better. Oop. Okay, so this belt is sitting just above my waist. So that gives a good indicator of where this should be starting. So this is it's all rolling because you put an edge on afterwards. Let me see if I can flatten it out a bit better. This is really hard to show with where it is, but this is what we are sort of looking like. So we have a dart. We've got most of the back done, the dart that goes up to my centre bust, and then we have the shaping for the v-neck and the shaping for the underarm going up to a strap. It is thinner currently than it's going to be because, like I say, it's rolling because it's stockinette edge. But we have made some very decent progress. And if I can sort of show you without pulling anything off needles, which I'm a bit concerned about. We've also got, God, this is really hard to show. We've also got the right front currently being shaped. And that will come like this. We've got T-Rex arms going on here. And then this will come around like this. So we are very much making progress on the bodice. Oh my God, this is so hard to show. I didn't consider at all how difficult this would be to show. So there, that's about as good as it's going to get, isn't it? So we've got two sides of the bodice coming together. And yeah, one completed going up here. And then I need to go and do the back. That is going to look absolutely terrible. I promise it does look good in real life. The fabric is gorgeous. So this is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, which is the recommended yarn for the pattern, and this is the shade Copper. I am knitting this on 2.75mm needles, which is what I had to go down to get gauge, but I am loving this. Now I have got to the point where I'm actually making gauge and I'm getting used to doing my row adjustments. So because I've got a different row gauge, I need to do some row adjustments, and there are calculations and calculations and calculations and calculations to make sure things work. And then basically that at the back is a tracker to make sure I'm knitting the right number of rows for each thing. Once I've worked out the amount of rows I need to do for my gauge, for my section, let me put it back up again. But yeah, it is making really good progress now. Really good progress now, and I'm very, very pleased with how it's going. I have been filming the process of making this, and I'm thinking, that looks like such a long, that goes round me, but that looks like such a long piece of fabric, doesn't it? I am filming the process of making it, and I'm going to make a couple of vlogs about knitting my own wedding dress, and I'm hoping in a couple of weeks' time, basically once I finish the front bodice and we've got it ready to properly try on, I'm going to put part 1 out. So that will be coming in a couple of weeks, hopefully. So if you want to watch that when it comes out, make sure you're subscribed. I can't tell you the size I'm knitting, I say this every time, but it's the whole point is that it's custom made. So you take your measurements, you pick different sizes for which one fits best for you, and then you adjust, you know, there's adjustment factors and stuff built into the pattern. It is a very complex pattern. To try and show you without showing any actual numbers, you know, there's just page after page of things, calculations and things of, you know, if you've got this then do this, if you've got this then do this, and vice versa. So yeah, it is an in-depth pattern. It is very much a trust the pattern, but honestly I have to say it is a beautiful pattern. Inez has been absolutely fantastic to test knit for, and it's been a great test knit group. That sounds like I've, you know, I have to caveat that with saying I've test knit for some really great designers that I've loved test knitting for, that I go back and test for again and again and again. And I've been part of some great test knitting groups where I've met people who've gone on to become friends. And so it's not any disparagement against those groups that I've been in before, but there's something about this one, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's such an involved project and such a long project, but it's been great. It's been really supportive. There's been lots of chatter in there. Inez has been fantastic with suggestions and taking things on board. So massive kudos to her. It's been a really, really enjoyable process, and something that really could have been an incredibly stressful knit has turned out to be quite an enjoyable one. And a lot of that is down to the group and to Inez herself. So thank you. The MELIDES is a pattern that's already out, so if you wanted to knit it, you can. Inez is doing, so it is a test knit at the moment, but Inez is doing an expanded size range, and she is editing for clarity as well whilst we're there. So I think there's going to be a completely updated pattern coming out, not just for the upper size ranges, but she's doing a fully size inclusive size range as well, which is fantastic. And yeah, that's where we're at with that. So once I've finished the back, the bodices, I need to do the back front, you know what I mean? That's not what I mean, is it? The top back, the top back, yeah. And then once I've done all that, you don't join your sleeves because obviously the weight causes things to change a bit, but you go back and you pick up from the waist and you start working down the skirt, and I think that's where it's really going to start slogging, because my hips are the widest point of me by quite a considerable point, so I'm going to have to do quite a lot of increasing to get to that point. And then I'm also, I say in this in every episode as well, I swear, I'm 6 foot tall, and I want this to be sort of mid-calf, mid-shin length. I don't want it to be midi, I don't want it to be full length either, thankfully, but I also don't want it to be at my knees. I want it to be mid-calf length, so I've got quite a lot of inches of stockinette flat back and forth on 2.75mm needles to do, and I will have increased to the widest part of my body. So I'm trying really hard not to think about that because it's going to give me an anxiety attack, I think, if I think about that too closely. So we're making really good progress. The deadline for the test knit is in September. I get married in October, so I've got about a month after the test knit ends in case I need to extend or anything like that. We are coming up on 3 months exactly until I get married. So I feel good. I feel like I've got plenty of time. We're getting there. So what have we got left to talk about? We've got one more whip to talk about, which is a completely new cast on and a new acquisition. Oh my god, there. The concentration on my face then must have looked ridiculous. We've got a plan to talk about, which I've swatched for. We'll talk about this first, and then we've got a giveaway to talk about. So, as you can see from my cardigan, I have really, really enjoyed crochet recently. I've essentially, which is quite unusual for me, I've been about as monogamous as it gets for me, and I've worked on those two projects. That's it, my Piennar and my MELIDES. And I've had a bit of a routine, and my thing. I've had a bit of a routine. On a morning, before I start work, once I've walked the dogs, I have a little bit of time to sit and knit or crochet. And what I tend to do is before anything else starts, I do a bit of crochet. I put out a video last week about my favourite, about my favourite knitting YouTubers. I know this is a tangent, it is going somewhere, bear with me. And a few of you recommended some people on there, and I found a couple of fantastic new YouTubers that I absolutely adore. And one of them, who I've really fallen in love with, is Sarah. And essentially, she talks about heart-jumping things, heart-jumping moments, heart-jumping projects, things that make your heart sing. And for me, crochet has been that. And I think part of it is because it's the lower stakes projects. These are just for me. You okay? Come here. Come see. Come here. No. There's no, I'm getting married in this, it's got to be done. There's no, somebody's actually paying me for my time to do that. It's a no stakes project. It's just fun. And also, particularly this one, because it's colourful and it's easy and it's repetitive, has been very, very heart jumping. So on a morning, I tend to do a bit of crochet, whether it's that or this that I'm going to talk about next. It will be this now. Then I move into during the day when I'm in meetings and things like that, and I can knit. I work on my Piennar top, and then on an evening I work on my MELIDES dress, and that's worked really well. Oops, what have I done? Just tried to unlock my phone with my thigh. That's a good one. Yeah, it's worked really well, and I've really liked having that almost routine, and that it's monogamous, but it's not. There is a variety of things that I can work on, but I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, now that crochet project is finished, this is going to get more time. So I purchased from Etsy, from Ruffles Yarn, who I think on Etsy is Ruffles Crochet Creations, but the company name is Ruffles Yarn, a scrap cake. They do these magic knot scrap balls, which are just absolutely, look at those colours. They're absolutely gorgeous. You can either buy them in fingering weight or DK, and you can sometimes buy them in colour schemes, like I think there was an Autumn Glory one or something like that, or you can get totally random, which is what I got. And I got 150 grams of DK. I am 99.9% certain when it arrived and it was DK, I thought I ordered fingering, and I went and checked, and I didn't. I ordered DK. I don't know what my thought process was when I did that. I think I meant to order fingering and I pressed the wrong thing, but it's worked out quite well anyway, so it doesn't matter. It was just, I don't know if anybody else does that, where you're convinced that you did something different, and actually, no you didn't. No you didn't. And I started crocheting this up into a linen stitch blanket, linen stitch, using the tutorial by MSC Makes, which is a fab tutorial. And I ripped it out because I loved it and it looked absolutely gorgeous. But I want to make a blanket from this, and I was going to get nowhere near a decent sized blanket using that linen stitch. I think I got to about this point, which I think is at least halfway through the cake. And I had maybe like that much, corner sized. And I just thought, nope, I want to maximise this as much as possible. So I turned it into a granny square blanket, and I essentially just turned it into a big granny square. And this is what we have. The colours are so good. Everywhere you look, there is different colours. There is two larger bits to begin with, the pink and the blue, and then it goes into almost really quite, like some of them there are only a few stitches. You can see that pink there, there's only really a few stitches of it. But there's some pinks, blues, greens, reds, yellows. It's beautiful. And I have loved working on this. The yarn as well is gorgeous. It's really plush and squishy. It's really, really nice, and I love how the colours are working up. I at one point was like, oh, I'm going to turn this into a top, but first off I wouldn't wear it because of the colours. I might wear it with the colours regardless, but I don't think granny squares look particularly good as garments, particularly for me. I just think they look a little bit frumpy. I think let's be honest, you see a lot of Gen Z wearing them, don't you? And they look great in them. I think when you're in your mid-30s maybe not so much. I just don't think it really goes. But as a blanket, like this is going to be my blanket. Nobody else is using this blanket. This is beautiful, 100%. I think it's 100% merino, superwash merino, in absolutely gorgeous colours. This is my blanket. Nobody else is using this. And I've had so much fun just picking it up, putting a few stitches on it in the morning, and seeing how the colours go and seeing where the next knot's going to be and what's it going to look like next. I'm going to see how much I get out of this. I'm probably not going to get a massive blanket, but I will order myself another scrap cake as a treat, basically, and continue with that because it's been a really, really nice pattern to do. I'm using a 5.5mm crochet hook, which is quite large for a DK weight yarn. I do realise that, but I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be too dense. I wanted it to be quite drapey, which it is because it's going to be a blanket. And I also wanted it to be, I wanted to get as much as I possibly could out of the yarn, basically, but it's not looking too loose. I'm happy with how it looks. And yeah, I'm just going to keep going. Super happy with this, super happy. And the plan, that's the other thing I needed to talk to you about, the plan. So I have another sample knit to do. Once I finish the sample knit for botanical yarns, I am going to be doing a sample knit for blue fern yarns, and the yarn has arrived for that, and I have swatched, and I thought I would show you because the colours are beautiful. I am hoping that I can finish the Piennar in the next few days and get it sent back, and then I'm not going to properly cast on my sample knit for blue fern yarns until that one's done, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have my MELIDES as my main and the sample knit for blue fern yarns as my second project. But this is what my swatch looks like. It's quite a small swatch, but it's enough. It's enough for what I need. This is going to be the Sprout by Johanna. This is again another person I've never knit a pattern from, and again this is what I love about sample knitting, is that you just sometimes get, I'm really sorry if that's picking up, there's a helicopter which we don't usually get around here, so I don't know what that is, but we'll see if it's picking up. I'm just going to wait for it to go past. Okay, it's gone past, and I took the opportunity to get some thumbnail shots in there. Yeah, this is going to be the Sprout by Johanna, and this is using their yak base, which I think is a merino yak blend, and this is the undyed colour, this grey, and the green is their emerald colourway, and the colours are beautiful, and the definition, the stitch definition in that colour work is beautiful. I've never worked with anything with yak content in before. It is so soft. Oh my god, it's like almost like alpaca, but actually slightly softer. Like, oh, it's so soft. And I was really impressed by how much it grows and blooms. I was knitting this swatch and I've had to go up a needle size from 3 to 3.5 for the pattern, which I'm learning is, hello, goodbye, it's fairly standard for me. But I was knitting this swatch and going, this is too small, this is never going to be enough. And actually, the moment I put it in the water to block, I was like, oh no, okay, it grows. I could just feel it just go, just sort of relax. So yeah, this is going to be absolutely fine. And it's beautiful. So yeah, very shortly you're going to see me casting this on. I will have put a picture up, hopefully. If not, I'll do it now. I'll move out the way, of what the Sprout looks like. It's a colourwork yoke with some colourwork at the bottom as well. And I'm very excited to knit that. Colourwork is about my favourite thing to knit, so very excited for this little guy. Okay, and that's everything whip wise we need to talk about. It feels a bit strange for me because normally I'd have about 10 things to talk to you about. I don't, but here we are. So we're going to now talk about a giveaway. So let me fidget a bit. Oh, my bum's gone numb. So I said in my last episode that we're really close to 500 subscribers, like I said at the beginning, and thank you to everybody who subscribed, and a few of you shared it on your Instagrams. Thank you so much, it really helped, and we've blown that out of the water. I think we're close to 530 subscribers now, so thank you so much for that. Like I said, I've said a few times, I think I genuinely thought when I started this that 10 people might watch this video, watch my videos, and probably like 7 of those would be my family and friends, and maybe 3 people might stumble across it. So the fact that some of you just, not only do you watch, but you engage and you keep coming back and back, it genuinely does make me really happy. I know it sounds quite trite and everybody says it, but it does, it really does. So thank you for being here. And to give back, I wanted to run a giveaway, so we're going to. So there's going to be 2 prizes. I mentioned last time, sneak that off there, I mentioned last time I wanted to do something for everyone, but I'm not in a position, I don't even know who would be a good option to be able to ship things overseas, and I don't want to risk people getting taxes and things like that. So for now, we're not going to do, I've got a physical prize for people based in the UK, which will be this skein that I picked up from Mothy and the Squid at, where did I go? The Wool Monty that I went to earlier in the year. This is a 85% superwash merino, 85% superwash merino, 15% Donegal nep fingering weight yarn, and the colourway is Squirrels at a Rave. It is black, quite high twist with these beautiful neon neps that do, I'm assured, glow under UV light. So if you would like to get your hands on this, feel free to enter. And if you are non-UK, we will run a pattern giveaway. I haven't selected a pattern. I was going to select a designer, but I thought actually that might exclude some people. So what we will do is basically a pattern of your choice from Ravelry. If you can't access Ravelry, it can be from another platform, or I can purchase it off Ravelry and send it to you. I would prefer for it to be from a size inclusive designer, but we can talk about that when it comes to it. You all know by now my feelings on size inclusivity. Being somebody with a sort of 47 to 50 inch bust, I would really prefer for it to be from a size inclusive designer. And do you know what? If it's somebody that I've recommended that you've never tried before and you've wanted to try one of their patterns, even better. But so what you need to do to be in with a chance to win and to enter is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment down below. It can be absolutely anything. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me what your pattern, what pattern you would get if you were overseas. Tell me what you do with the yarn if you win it, if you're in the UK. Anything you like. You can tell me what you had for your tea last night. I'm not bothered. What I would ask is, if you are based overseas, if you just tell me in your comment, in fact, let's scrap that. Comment down below, comment whatever you like, but in your comment, tell me where you're based. I don't need details. I just need to know a country. In fact, just a continent, either UK or overseas. So UK, Europe, USA, Canada, wherever. I don't need to know counties, details, anything like that. Just where you're based, because then what I will do is I will pick a winner, and if they're based overseas, you win a pattern, and then I'll pick another winner from the UK that gets the physical thing. We will draw the winner on the next podcast episode, which will be in 2 weeks' time. And I don't think a channel my size is going to be hit by the bots, but just to confirm, I will announce the winner on the next podcast. I won't be contacting you in the comments and saying that you've won. I won't ask for bank details or anything like that, or any payment to send you the pattern or the yarn. It will all be covered by me. I will cover postage. I will get it to you. So yeah, if anybody's commenting saying you've won, send me your bank details. It's not me. What I will do is announce on the channel next time, and we'll find a way. I've got to stop fidgeting with this. I'm sorry. We'll find a way to get things to you to communicate, and we'll find a way to communicate so I can get things out to you and stuff like that. So yeah, leave me a comment below. Not really bothered what the content of the comment is, whatever you would like to share with me, but tell me where you're based, whether you're based in the UK or elsewhere in the world, so I can enter you into the right level of giveaway, and we will pull a winner in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well to be in with a chance to win. If you don't want to be part of the giveaway, tell me, but you still want to comment, tell me in your comment that you still don't want to be part of it, and because I do keep an eye on the comments, I do generally respond as much as I can. So if you want to comment but you don't want to be a part of that, just tell me in there, and if I pull you as a winner, then I'll just pull somebody else. Okay. And with that, I don't think there's massive amounts more to talk about. There's not much life update. Work is still work. Work is still continuing on. My manager is on leave for a couple of weeks and I'm covering her stuff, so it's been a bit busy, but it's been good. I've had some good feedback. The weather has been absolutely abominable, like we said, which means we haven't done much stuff. We've stayed in quite a lot. And yeah, I've really been enjoying being a bit more monogamous. That, I think, is the update for me, and I didn't ever expect that this would be the case, but maybe this is me turning over a new leaf. I say that, I'm kidding myself, aren't I? I'll finish my wedding dress in September. I'll have nothing else on the needles, and you'll come back to a podcast episode with me surrounded by 50 whips because I've cast everything on at once that I wanted to knit. That's probably what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I know, I'm enjoying it. And the cardigan's going to have to go back on again in a minute because it started raining and it's gone cold. Don't you just love the British weather? I know we complain about the weather a lot, and I know there's a trope if you're not based in the UK that we talk about the weather all the time and we moan about the weather all the time, and that it rains all the time in the UK. But as somebody who lives in the UK and has all of her life, this is particularly bad even for the UK. We had, like, last week, we just had about a week of solid rain. And for the middle of July, we would normally have a bit better weather than that. It's really not good. It genuinely feels like we could be in the middle of February. It's not nice. Wedding planning is full steam ahead. We've booked everything for the actual ceremony. We're just doing registry office, so there's not much to book, but we've booked all that. We've pre-ordered our marriage certificates and things like that. We need to sort out last details like rings and things like that. Last details, like they're minor, like we need rings. But there's not massive amounts to sort. And we're actually just looking at the exciting bits of sorting our honeymoon. We're going to do a short break just after we get married. Just the two of us, and then we're planning on a much bigger honeymoon next year. So yeah, it's all full swing. The days seem to be going by super quickly. And before I know it, we're going to be getting married. So I best get a move on my dress. But yeah, that's me. There's not really much else going on. If you like the video, drop it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to enter into the giveaway, like I said, make sure you comment down below. Make sure you like. Make sure you're subscribed. And in 2 weeks' time, we will pull the winner. And you could be in with a chance to win either a pattern or this beautiful skein of yarn. So yeah, that's everything, guys. I hope you've had a nice time. I hope you've got some knitting done. I hope you haven't been too bored by my waffle. This feels like this has been all over the place. I had planned to have some time to plan to film today, but it didn't happen because of work. So it feels like it's been all over the place. I hope it's not been too bad. Please don't go. Please don't go. Please come back. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And I will see you on the next one. Have a great week. Get lots of knitting done and be kind to yourself, and make sure you get time to relax as well. Bye, guys.